What? No stamping or masking and I still have a bouquet? Welcome back, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and look at this new release from Altenew. It's a watercolor coloring book. Yes, the bouquets and images are already set, ready to go. All you need is some watercolors and some paintbrushes. We'll get to that in a minute. You get 2 of each image. There's 24 in total, and one is in black and one is in a really light color, because you can then do a no line sort of image if you prefer. They are 50% cotton pressed, and but it's 140-pound weight cardstock. So this is a really heavyweight, beautiful watercolor card, and I'm gonna have a play with my artist watercolors now. I just want to show you here, it's the 5x7, so a normal A2 card is quite a bit smaller, so I'm going to be making an A2 card sized card today, but I'll show you a little trick later on in the video, so hold on for that. I am a little bit weird. I don't like to work from, I'm sure I'll grow out of this at some point, but I like to actually transfer my colours across to a palette, and then I can see exactly what my colours are rather than work directly from my watercolor palette. I can mix them on my other palette or mix them on the cardstock here, which is what I'm actually doing. So I'm using one of the Altenew water brush markers now, because I wanted to show you that you can certainly use a watercolor brush like this because they are very affordable. The thing with these brushes is they don't hold a lot of pigment in the end of the actual brush itself, but I wanted to show that you can actually use whatever you have on hand and still achieve a great look. But why I'm mentioning that is because today Altenew are also releasing their own line of watercolor brushes, or brushes. There are 2 different packs. The first one being a really fine set of 4 brushes, and the second one here has 5 brushes in it, and 4 of them are a round brush, which are more of my favorite to use for what I like to do with watercoloring. But it does have this big flat 18 brush as well. So I've grabbed out the largest of the round brushes, which is a size 4. Now these brushes have a metal ferrule. They're like a synthetic squirrel hair, and the actual handle that's not the right word, I can't even think of it. Anyway, it's made out of black birch wood, so they're lovely to hold, and the amount of pigment that it picks up compared to the previous brush that I was using, you can definitely feel it, but the finished look is the same. So you don't need to have like really fancy products to get a look, but these were definitely fun to play with. Now, I don't know if you've ever done any watercoloring before, but watercolor goes on nice and bright, and then as it dries it really dulls off. It becomes a lot lighter. So what I like to do is work in layers. So you'll see I'm doing a wet on wet technique, so I'm dropping water in, picking up my color, dropping that in, trying not to overwork it, which is my biggest downfall with watercoloring. I'm working with petals that aren't beside each other so that each petal has its own life. I find if you try and paint the whole thing at once, you get a real flat look, and by taking the time to do each petal separately, it really does make a difference to the finished look of your image. I will list all the colours that I have picked up off my palette today at my blog, and if you head to my blog as well, you'll also be able to find the link to the hop and get lots more inspiration for this beautiful watercoloring book. There are some amazing artists in the Altenew design teams and release teams. It's worth it, I tell you. Go ahead, take a peek. Now I did want to colour my whole card today pretty much because I just felt like it. So I grabbed like the Desert Night blue colour, and I'm actually creating a wash of colour around the whole image. I didn't show you, but I did wait for each layer to dry between adding more layers of colour, and that's just what will give you the depth, and you're not going to end up accidentally mixing colours. If you have a heat tool, you can actually speed that process up by heat setting it. I typically prefer to try and let it dry naturally if I've got the time, because I think for me, I prefer the finished look when it does that. These flowers, they're beautiful. They're the Altenew flowers that we already know and love. And all I had to do was rip one of the pages out of the book and start colouring. And it's a really good way to practice and learn watercolour. You don't have to watercolour these flowers. If you have, if you prefer pencil colouring, you could certainly do that. There is some tooth on the paper, so I'm not sure how it would go with Altenew's artist markers, but you could certainly give it a try. It's a really thick cardstock, so I would think that it would actually soak up a lot of the artist marker ink. And here I just grabbed the jet black woodless watercolor pencil to add some shading. Yes, I did say that right. I am using the jet black pencil, but I am using it really lightly, and I didn't actually add any water to that. But I did add some splatters, both some white and black spatters to my card. And as I was doing this, my husband walks in and goes, "What are you ruining that for?" I don't know. Do you agree with my husband? Did I ruin it with the splatters? I don't know. I liked it. I like the splatters. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if I made a mess of it with them. Anyway, I've got this piece of cardstock, and I want to cut my card down to an A2, but I wasn't sure where I wanted it. There's a few places I could move it round. Don't know if you noticed, I have a window cut in it, and it's the finished size of an A2, and I can hold it in front of my cardstock, make a mark on it, and then I can just come to my trimmer and trim it down, and I know that my image is going to be centered exactly how I want it to. I really like the desert blue. And the splatters, I do. So I adhered that to the front of a top fold card and also added a sentiment. I've got it's white heat embossed on the jet black cardstock because I just didn't want to take away from the watercolor design too much, but it's from the Crystal Frames stamp set, and I did die cut it with one of the featured sentiments dies, which I'm adoring at the moment. And I also decided to add a heart from, this is the Warm and Cozy Enamel Dots set. So I do hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, please click on the thumbs up button to let me know that you did, and if you haven't already, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe, and I'll be back to see you again here real soon. Till then, happy paper crafting. Bye.